The qualifier, you weren't one of the top teams, but they did keep them finishing in those top sort of 5, top 6 positions. They've always been close. I'm really excited to see what their performance looks like. And I think Cyclops are the most unwelcoming team that anyone can hope to play here. We hear time and time again at every single LAN we come to that no one wants to play against Cyclops because you just do not know what to expect. So if Lost One can get a grasp on this game, can really drive it through to a comfortable victory, it'll be a fantastic sign for what's to come in future days.
As the textbook Anaton target ban.
Oh, yeah.
Monty taken straight off the board by Lost One. Cyclops awfully famous for playing that up with terrifying impact.
Well, really ironically, so Lost One, for those who don't know, the name does kind of give it away. They are a combination. They used to be Team One. Team One were acquired by an organization called Los Grandes, a really big esports org in LATAM, which is really exciting for the players to be part of such a massive club, I guess, coming out of LATAM. Going all the way back to the Mexico Major in 2021, Tim, when we think about it, you remember that game, Anaton drop-shotting Alamau and the rest of the team. It was unbelievable. So Monty clearly still got some scars being left on this team from that game all that time ago. Different players, but the org never forgets. We're into theme park, though, Tim, a map that you and I have now seen a couple of times over the last couple of days, and I'm really excited to see how it shakes up, not just for Lost One, but also for Cyclops, who start on the defense.
It's going to be a big game, that much is for sure. It's always fireworks when these two orgs meet. Like you say, you know, the players, the teams may change, but you still get those themes running throughout. And there is an interesting one. They've played 4 times between these two organisations, and it's 2 apiece at the moment. So whoever comes away from this will take an advantage in those stakes as well. But as you say, for Lost One, there have been changes. You know, the team that we've got today is completely different to the one that won the Mexico Major 7 or so months, no, longer than that, wasn't it, ago. And much longer than that, but you know, the roster was switched out, and then Lagonis stuck around and brought the majority of these guys on, and then Lagonis moved on, and so it's all changed, but they are just as exciting, that much is for sure. We're into round 1, action phase. It's going to be a top floor defense,
yes.
and what a shock! Yes. We've got a Cyclops player stood at a window, out he goes, but Lost One having absolutely none of it, Des. Rise and shine. He's going to take him down more than ready. They've done their homework, and Cyclops, I'm going to say it now, need to take note of that quickly.
So if you're, I guess a team if someone hasn't really seen Cyclops before, or you're a new spectator to them, you are in for a wild ride. Jump outs and craziness is their go-to game plan. They're a real great team to watch as a neutral because they upset the norm that you'll see every other team doing. They're just very different to everyone else. Now, clearly Lost One have got some answers for them. They know what to expect, having seen them compete at a good few majors now leading into this, but we'll see as to whether or not that can change as the games go by. One little stat to throw at you as well, Tim. Maya and Lobbin got 65 of the team's 102 kills versus Furia in the finals to make it here as well. So I know Lobbin's a bit of an unknown name. He's only been on the team for about 4 months or so. He had some choice words that he was saying. He was like, if I make it to SI, the gringos are... there's a word there that I'm not going to insert, but he is very confident about their ability to come here and deliver. Of course, replacing Lagonis, big shoes to step into as well, and Phil, but so far seems to be doing a wonderful job.
Gonna have a challenge coming second for Black Ray. He knows, he saw the back end of Dash. Is he gonna be able to get there quick enough? No, Dash has managed to escape. He's gonna continue moving, but no, catches him as he comes around the corner, finds that kill. Lobbin, however, with one of his own onto Suzushi, and that leaves us now in a 4 versus 3. Lobbin just gonna hold that angle for the time being out towards, but they've been able, Black Ray, to find his way back into sight up those stairs, and he in turn is on the sort of counter watch now, waiting for Lobbin to step out.
Oopsie daisy, got the side angle coming in there from inside of office that they weren't quite aware of. Arcoli stepping across looking for a second, but not to be found. Either way, Anaton balancing the books. We're into a 2 versus 2 with 40 seconds still to play. It feels like there's more bloodshed to come to. This one I don't see going down to the wire. I think it's going to come down to a couple of gunfights in the next 20.
Lost One don't have the diffuser in hand at the minute, so that's one factor that they need to consider. They're going to have to go in there and get kills. Oh, no, they do. Raz has managed to collect it, so that gives them options at least. 25 seconds and into sight they go. Looks like Raz is going to have an opportunity to potentially put this down on the ground. The Echo drone is being relocated. Arcully manages to find Maya. We find ourselves now in a 1 versus 1 as Rise gets the trade. 12 seconds left to go. He can try for the plant, and Anaton can continue to deny for the time being with the Yokai. There's going to come a point where the diffuser has to go down, but Rise is likely to be tracked down and challenged by the Echo now. And comes off. The movement was enough to do it.
I don't know there if that's a little bit of panic or just hoping that he would catch someone, knowing he was pretty much screwed, but really good composure being shown at the very end there with the Echo as well, not looking to try and go for the firefight, just playing in behind those drones in the shield, doing a lot of work for them as well. Quite a scrappy round in the early round too. We saw the little jump out coming in, really coming down to a 2v2, and the execute actually happened. Just goes to show how much was happening off the site itself, but Cyclops still the ones to pull ahead in round 1.
We're going to continue on then into round...
Lost 1 round so far, Tim.
Give it... I can't take this. It's going to be initiation and office to follow up. So we're going to stick to the top floor defense. Cyclops, not too much of a surprise. It's pretty much a mirror effort. You can get attacks coming in from either side, so they're still going to pay attention out towards Cafe. That was where Lost One pushed in from last time. It may be this time that they push in from the east side, try to get control of cash, control, work through, open the wall into initiation potentially. There is, of course, the option of getting established inside of break room and into bunk and getting into the site from that side as well. So plenty of options here for Lost One on the attack, and let's be honest, they weren't a million miles away last time around. I think they're going to be fairly hopeful, but I don't think we're going to see Cyclops going for a jump out and giving them a man advantage so easily this time.
A little more composed. And to be fair, one player we haven't really touched on here is the man that you can see on your screen right now, Arcully. You know, Cyclops are a team that have had a very similar roster for the longest time. Gadarada being the player they used to have. Many may remember him from previous events. Arcully has come in as a new 18-year-old gunner from a T2 team called Crest over in Japan. So quite excited to see what his impact is as well. I do like it when teams sort of go, look, we've tried this for a good while now. We can see where the limits are. We need something a little bit fresh in the team, and they have made a change like this. So for Cyclops, Arcully could be a big difference maker, not just in this series, but throughout the whole competition. And to be fair to them as well, Tim, this is the first time they've ever qualified directly to SI without needing to win a qualifier. So things are on the up for Cyclops. It is a slow climb, but hopefully they'll get there.
It's been a slow climb with a couple of dips through the year. It hasn't been all sort of smooth sailing for them, but as you say, they certainly are establishing themselves more and more, and hopefully it continues. It's a team that I enjoy watching, always very entertaining. Now the drones are still raining around the map for the time being. 6 left alive for Lost One, not too bad at this stage, nearly halfway through, so they should have plenty of information coming in. It looks like they're going to be mounting up for more of an east-sided push. We've only got one over on the west side there. It's going to be Maya on the Flores that's potentially going to be pushing in from there, but looking to get themselves established on the office and control side of things, but not really getting too much into the map yet, Lost One.
Not yet, no. I feel maybe they feel they know what needs to be done once they're actually inside, so haven't got to really rush their way through. But there's also that fear of the roam game coming out of Cyclops. We know that they love getting aggressive on maps, no matter how small or how large they are. But as you just hear lob in one of those Candelas and try and get things moving. It's Maya to strike first, though, bringing down Black Ray. Instantly responded to, though, by Suzushi and Irrigator to bring down Dash as well. Good start for Cyclops.
Beautiful from Irrigator there, just very aware of his surroundings, and the man coming from the bottom of Yellow Stairs. Raz does pick up Suzuki, and that leaves us now in a 3v3. Interesting.
He's got away with that.
Interesting play from the Azami there. 3 versus 3, 45 seconds left to go. And as I said, Lost One, they just don't really have too much of an identity to this attack. If you were to ask me, you know, where are they going to execute? Where are they going to plant at the minute? I'd struggle to tell you where that choice is going to come. Arcully manages to find dots, and that leaves us now in a 3v2. Cyclops with 30 seconds left to go. They can hold on. They can just start holding angles here, and Lost One are going to be stuck with pushing from the side that they're on, which is from the Cafe side. They're not going to have any breach opportunity. There's a direct trade, leaving us now 1 versus 2, and it is over as Anaton finds that final kill. Well played from Cyclops. They really shut down anything that Lost One tried to do there. They couldn't get themselves really active from any side.
Part of me's a little bit, I don't know, I'm kind of worried already for Lost One. I know we're only 2 rounds in and it's super early and it feels easy to say, of course, they lost 2 rounds and now you're worried. No, it's more the fact that it's their map pick, and the way they're approaching these rounds feels a little bit unconfident. a little bit slow, like it's lacking any real pace. Again, remember this is their map pick. They've come into both rounds so far, dealing with admittedly a team that are really hard to control. We've already said the aggression that comes out of Cyclops can be an absolute nuisance. Round 1 they dealt with that aggression, round 2 that aggression wasn't really there. But they've sort of left it all to the very last second. They've come up against utility that hasn't been cleared away, whether it's keeper barriers, whether it's shields, it doesn't matter. But right now we're lacking pace on the side of Lost One. And it could just be first game jitters. Again, this is their first time playing. Cyclops did play yesterday. Maybe they've got a bit of warming into it to do, but I'd like to see them get a couple of rounds on the board here on the attack. And if it doesn't happen here on what's considered very clearly to be Cyclops' offsite, I do start wondering where those wins are going to come from, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And the thing is, if Armory Throne is your offsite, that is a little bit of a problem for the attackers. You know, we know that it's often favoured as a primary site. It's certainly not a bad one to defend. There's not a lot of verticality above it. You have to be getting your breaches off because otherwise you're working through single doors. So that's something that we've seen Lost One struggle with in the first couple of rounds, is getting that access to site. Now, it looks like we might have a bit of spicy action from Ayagator on this door out onto the balcony. Maya seems to be aware of it, but Lost One, they've got the entry kill both rounds so far. It hasn't paid dividends for them, but I dare say they really don't want to be taking the entry death. If they can't get the win with the opening kill, it ain't going to go any better with the opening death.
Absolutely not. I love as well how Anaton's doing the sort of thing that we'd see Deepak doing and making really good, I don't want to say aggressive, but really good mobile use of those yokai drones to collect information around the map, understand, okay, where is this push coming from? Are they coming barrel side? Are they going maintenance side? Are they going in top floor control instead? It just feeds the roamers that little bit of information. So players like Ayagator that have been waiting in cache, hoping to try and find a spawn peak, for example, know where to direct themselves next. And sure enough, you can also see a similar story coming out of Black Ray on the Legion.
Once again, Lost One not really inside of the map, coming towards the halfway mark. I'd like to see them a little bit quicker through these first halves. We've got one now established inside of Cafe. It's going to be Lobin that's managed to get himself inside there. Going to trigger that goo man. I've no choice but to take it out of his leg. But again, it's just feeding that information into Cyclops as to exactly where this push is coming from. Not sure if that was a yokai drone that was just taken down by the IQ. Looks like it probably was, as he's stunned out at the moment. But as we pass that 1 minute 30 mark, again, I'm just a little bit concerned about Lost One's lack of progress at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're chasing down a couple of like yokais at the minute that seems to be having them chasing shadows, and Ayagator's going to find himself a freebie as well, not dealt with at all around cash, and finally Lost One will bring him down. But the fact that you've had someone running around there for 2 minutes, really uncontested for the vast majority of it, again, plays into what I was saying earlier. Lost One not with a lot of pressure so far on Theme Park.
No real hard breach option. They've got Ying with the hard breach gadgets and Dash with the hard breach gadgets, but I'm just concerned about those. I say no real sort of direct option because you're very limited with the scope of those openings. You know, if you're going to try to push into sight, normally I'd say absolutely fine, open up some lines of sight, not a problem. But for an actual ingress into sight, then, you know, they're not always the best. You've got to go through that animation of jumping through them, and it could be risky when you're coming down to the last 30 seconds.
You got our colleague still as well, sat hanging around yellow here, just waiting for someone else to push down the wrong way and get himself in trouble. Dots is going to... timing is horrific, but Suzu Shi deletes 2 members off the other side. Suddenly, though, it's down to a 2v1 as both Rise and Dash get themselves back on the scoreboard. Anaton left alone is one of the players that you would want in this kind of situation. Dodges away from the frags. He's a player, but he's sprinting forwards. Rise gets the closeout, and Lost One are on the board.
I'm not sure, Anaton there, I don't want to be too critical, but you're inside in a 1v2, you know he's coming through the door, sprinting at the door and not being able to ADS might not be the best player in that situation. I'm certain that Anaton, you know, knows what he's doing, certainly better than I do, but yeah, gives himself away a little bit there. Not really ready for the fight. It was interesting to see Lost One able to still make that work really without the hard breach happening. As I said, they did have the hard breach secondary utility with them, but the square that gets opened up is pretty small. It's similar to 4 Hibana pellets, so it just leaves them limited. So they were pushing through those single doors. They've got away with it. They managed to brute force their way in, but no, maybe not something that they can rely on every single time. This time Rise is going to be bringing along the ace, so that'll give them the Selma charges at least. But back up to the top floor we go. Cyclops, I think, will be pretty happy with that first rotation. There's, you know, 3 defenses, 2 wins. They obviously, you know, don't favour Armory Throne for whatever reason, and they've come away with 1 loss. They'll rinse and repeat. They'll be happy with a 4-2 half if they can get it done.
I do want to see in the second quarter of the game, though, more aggression coming out of Lost One. I know I've commented on it a few times now as well, but even in that last round, yes, they won, but it did come down to a couple of favourable 2Ks going their way. You know, I want to see them getting a bit more aggressive onto these members of Cyclops that clearly are having a field day roaming out in the map right now. I commented on our Cully with about 40 seconds to go, was still sat around lab storage, hovering around yellow stairs, for example, very much uncontested. So without taking control of these key areas of the map, I'm just worried they'll keep on getting tripped up. We'll still see, though, how it goes here in round 4. It's Black Ray holding nice and close, hoping again that someone jumps in this window completely unchecked. But Lost One, you're hoping, have got that composure to deal with it. We did comment before the game got underway. Ultimately, Cyclops are a rough team to come up against for your first one. On a map like Theme Park, with how big it is, even rougher.
No real progress towards site last time around from Lost One. They weren't in a position. It ended up in that 1v1. You know, it was very much trying to throw the diffuser down because the time was running out. I'd like to see them gain a bit more control over Bunker or Daycare, over one of those sites, you know, and have an opportunity for a proper execute this time, rather than, you know, a situation of maybe just having to throw the diffuser down to stop the clock running. It was about 15-20 seconds remaining last time that Rise was trying. So hopefully this time around Lost One can get themselves in, established a little bit earlier. I've picked up on it a few times, a little bit concerned about the speed that they're playing with in the first half of the rounds particularly. We're at the halfway mark again, Des. We're not inside the map again, Des.
Sayano, can we take a quick look at where the Kite Electro claws are? I believe there's one on the top yellow and also one somewhere else that I haven't yet seen. I know we've had Bandit down, for example.
On Break Room Wall.
Is it on Break Room Wall?
Oh, no, they're Bandit batteries.
Yeah, so where's the Kite Electro claw? 'Cause it's not in back pocket, it's somewhere. Maybe it's on a hatch? Oh, it looks like it's on the hatch, I think, by the looks of it. Not quite sure. Either way, I was curious where it was because they've gone for this double electrification stack up here. So really going hard for a denial game rather than worrying about being too aggressive out on the roam. So for Lost One, really, they've got a lot of space and time to work with. And with that time and space, they are working a bit of magic. They found themselves 2 kills, making it a third as well. Dots finding himself another. And this is finally starting to look good for Lost One as they are rolling over the Japanese side. Black Ray, the last one left alive, won't even find that. It's a flawless round for Lost One in round 4.
Much better. I commented about the 1:40 mark that they needed to speed it up a little bit, and that's exactly what they did. Slammed the foot on the gas pedal and went through Cyclops in the next 30 or 40 seconds. Well played from Lost One. Levels things up at 2-2, and just let Cyclops know that they're in for a bit of a game. After those first 2 rounds, they could have been forgiven for thinking that it might be an easy play here on Theme Park, but absolutely not. They're going to head back down to Armory and Throne Room for the next round, but again, it wasn't fantastic from Cyclops, and we saw them play it in round 3. So Lost One were able to push in, were able to get the win. I'm just looking at the hard breach options this time. I mentioned it last time around. They limited themselves to the secondary gadgets and didn't end up breaching their way into sight. They were having to play through the single doors, which is always a risk. I'm glad to see this time that we've got Dots bringing along the Thermite, we've got the Thatcher, you know. Bring those operators, bring the basics. You know, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Get yourself established somewhere, get those walls open. You know, here I'd like to see 2 out of 3 site walls opened, maybe the bottom yellow stairs, maybe maintenance. Get those 2 open, and all of a sudden Cyclops are going to have a very tough time of trying to hold on to this site.
Yeah, I don't hate, I mean, for this site especially, a Thatcher and a Thermite really is all you need to get one of those 2 critical walls open, either on the west side of site or on the east side, looking towards barrels and maintenance respectively. Some teams do occasionally look towards the north side as well, opening up yellow towards the top, but often what you'll do there is focus on getting one of the walls opened up on the west or the east side, open up that wall or get some control above and just make sure players can't play there. Essentially, you're trying to hard deny the site as best you can, give the defenders a really thin strip of land on which is actually safe to play, and even then you can't move very far without being exposed to one of the potential angles. So we'll see exactly how they play for it. That's why the denial game is here as well, with the yokais, with the capcans on doors as well, leading in towards the site, the electro claws. There is lots being brought along to try and stop or at least slow down that execute when they come around to getting walls opened up, but I don't see Lost One having real massive issues in getting that done.
There we go, Dots is in position inside of maintenance. Irrigator looking for the man up on top of the roof there. Not going to find him and just dip away from that fight. We've got our Cully in and around yellow stairs as well as previous. So really, Lost One have got no excuse for not knowing that this is the case, and they're going to suffer to it. Our Cully barely able to take down Lobbin with a headshot. That is not a bad start. As I suggested, maybe trying to get that yellow wall open. I like to see it. It hasn't worked out. That Selma device has either been tricked or shot off the wall, so they need to go back to the drawing board.
Now they're screwed because they've lost the Thatcher and the Thermite. Sure, they've got a wall opened up, but Yellow is going to stay firmly locked up, as is the barrel side of things too. They are inside the site here as well, and there's an easy shot coming out for Maya, as one was already down. Going to try and make a plant happen, I imagine, here with the shield in hand as well. Got to be really careful about the threat coming in from Split at the same time as Black Ray brings down Dash. It looks so good for Lost One at first, but now they're down a man.
I really thought with a bit of cover there, if they just backed off a little bit and held their lines, there was a possibility of getting the diffuser down. Black Ray's going to take a bit of damage. Out goes the air jab to try and punish him. Move quickly and you'll get your freebie. There you go. Maya on a double opportunity to put the diffuser down. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's Hayagator now. 1v2. We saw Anaton in a 1v2 last time on this side. He was unable to win it. Will Hayagator be able to go one better? He's going to move in through Split. He knows that they're likely on both sides of him. That's exactly what's happened. Smart use of the Kiba barricades there just to build himself a little bit of safety. He can move in. That's really thinking on his feet. He sees one, but no, it's the challenge coming in from Rise that does the damage. Hayagator did everything he could, used all the tools at his disposal to create a situation where he could win that, but it was just too big an ask, and that is going to be the third round in a row for Lost One.
Big brain if it had worked out, but sadly, as we can see, it did not. And I love the dynamic use of the air jab there as well. I don't think it was really intended, but forcing the player onto the air jab, because if he stepped back, he was in the doorway's line of sight anyway, and in Maya's grasp, gets knocked back anyway, kills him, and immediately flicks onto the cap can coming in through the split door. Just a beautiful 2K being lined up for Maya, given they were in a 3 versus 2, making it a 2v1 and all but guaranteeing them the round. Not always the cleanest, but some real flashy little play coming out there at the end, and like that, Lost One have turned a 0-2 deficit into a 3-2 lead, Tim. Doesn't look like they're going to lost this one anytime soon.
That's another one.
Another lost one.
I knew you were going to say, I just wasn't quick enough to stop you. That's infuriating. Right, round 6 we come into. It's going to be Cyclops' last defensive attempt, and then we'll see how Lost One do on the defense. So you say been looking good over the last 3 rounds. They have picked up the pace in the earlier stages a little bit. They've been getting in there and grinding Cyclops down, getting those kills and giving themselves the opportunity to be able to play in. They've been in the position a couple of times where they could consider planting. And I do like what I'm seeing from Lost One at the minute, so we'll see if they can get themselves an advantage going into that second half. I think they'll be pretty happy with 4-2 after the way the first 2 rounds went, if that's how this ends.
Absolutely. Well, it feels like it's going to be careering towards that 4-2, and although at points it still feels like Lost One haven't really focused on massive amounts of map control, the map control they have managed to find has worked, at least in the last 3. Less so in the first 2, but again, you give a team a few rounds to warm into things. I think back to Koi versus G2 on day 1, for example. It took them a whole half a map really to wake up and start playing the game properly, and even then it was still a battle against what turned out to be a very fearsome G2 side. If you've tuned in late to our broadcast, one game I'd really recommend you go back and check out would have been G2 versus W7M earlier on today. Went all the way to round 15 of map 3. No, we were not casting it. Normally we get affiliated with that, but it is a game worth going back and watching because G2 are looking real hot this competition, and I'm hoping that we see Lost One rise to a similar standard, because the more teams we have being hyper competitive, the better next week is going to be when it comes around to the knockout stages.
Again, Lost One established themselves up on the rooftop. We've seen this a couple of times. The drones raining through the hatches, and that is sort of their default position, really. Rise is going to be working on the break room windows. Again, looking to get themselves in above. It's Bunk and Daycare that they are challenging onto. It would be a little bit unusual for attackers. We did actually see it earlier on today. Attackers to get themselves into break room directly. But what they're trying to do is just control this this space and not allow it to be safe for the defenders who can play out of their play out of the door, hold the angles onto the double door leading to vending and initiation, for example. They don't want them to be able to do that. But I like it, as I've said for the first few rounds. I just didn't think there was enough priority. Ooh, there we go, a quick... No! Rise had the opportunity to avoid that, he just didn't know it. He's going to lose his Selma device, but I like the opportunity, getting in there, trying for that hard breach from Lost One. I think it's something they didn't do enough of in their early attacks.
Oh, I mean, down goes Black Ray. Ouch. 2-6 so far. Blackray, for those who haven't seen too much of Cyclops, normally is the go-to entry for them, the spearhead for this team that will greet teams on the entryway into the building. And nade over the top as well. It's Dash from below, up and over the top of the yellow stairs, and grants them a second. This denial-based game clearly not paying off for them here, as they've managed to pull over a couple of kills. A 3 versus 2 is in force. It's a 3v1. Arcully can do what he wants, but Lost One can do what they want even more. A 4-2 half on the attack of Theme Park. Could not ask for a better start, Tim.
Cyclops were able to take a couple of trades there along the way, but they were at man disadvantage, so you can't play the trade game. You've got to be coming out on top of those gunfights, because ultimately you're just going to get ground down to nothing, and that's exactly what happened. So Lost One able to get themselves a nice advantage on the first half of Theme Park here. It is, of course, their map choice. You know, the second map is Cafe, which was Cyclops' map choice, so we'll see, you know, whether each holds on to their own. But for the time being, things are looking pretty good for Lost One, and the reason that I bring up the map pick and the map choice is because they're moving on to the defense, and usually if a team is picking up a map as their choice, they're going to be fairly confident on the defense, because that's where your setups come in. That's where you get to dictate how the play goes. So an interesting setup here for Armory and Throne. We've got a rotation played into barrels. We've got some reinforcements off towards sort of Gong and that top right corner. Going to be an interesting one. I think there's going to be some extensions here, probably not too far. I don't think there's going to be too much vertical presence coming in from Lost One, but they're certainly going to try to keep hold of a majority of that lower floor by the looks of things, and that's not a small ask, really. This is a pretty big map when you try to break it down like that, and it could be a tough one. I hope they're not stretched too thin.
No, for sure. I was really excited for a second we were going to see a Glass coming in from Aniton, because if any team's going to run Glass this competition, it's going to be Cyclops. Hyper-aggressive on the defense, but quirky with the attacking lineups. Also some interesting changes in terms of who is playing what. Arcully, the one going along on things like the Iana. Historically, would see players like Blackray being the go-to, say, Alibi main, along with the Iana main on the attacking side. So not so much a direct role swap. You may well see on some maps that Blackray is still on the Iana, but a couple of things changing up here in terms of what ops are picked by who. This spot as well.
I was just looking at that thinking, okay.
You're not going to look better if you jump out, are you? Let's be real.
I mean, it's a bit of a risk. Gator up there. He's just looking. It gives you an interesting angle down into break room. If anybody was playing underneath the window there, for example, looking for those upside down rappels, you know, you literally would be one step ahead of him there. But just needs to be very careful on his movement, of course. One wrong foot, one wrong toe from that position, and he'll be down but not out on the floor, almost certainly. Aniton just holding his angle in from arcade window. So a lot of focus out towards the Cafe side. Aniton potentially going to just play in a little Candela here to allow him to get into the building. He's just waiting for something else to happen, I think, before those go. And there we go. The push is going to come in. Don't forget, though, this is a bottom floor site. It's Armory and Throne that they're looking to push onto. We're a minute and a half in, and they're using a lot of utility just to get themselves into that top floor.
That's it. I mean, it's a similar story to Lost One back in the first half when we spoke about this. You know, you can't ignore it if we said it for one team, but 90 seconds in, they've only really just got themselves control of the building, and it required going through 2 of those Candelas that Aniton had in his back pocket. Sorry, 3 in the end, used in the end, sorry. They do have flashes still. They've got smokes, for example, to play behind. There are still options when it comes around to the execute, but I'm a little bit nervous that we're down to the final 60, and only now are Cyclops starting to really work their way into the map itself. It feels like a thermite or something here would have been the go-to play to really help you out, so I'm not 100% sure where they want Suzushi to direct those pellets, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it can always be difficult. That's the trade-off with Hibana, of course. She's very, very versatile in the hard breaching, but with the delay time on those pellets, and like you say, having to build them up to make a walkable breach, for example, it can limit you a little bit. Now, Rise is going to be pushed out of position. He's doing his best, just sort of turning himself into water almost to get as close to that wall as he could, but the kill could not be found. Dots gets one, Dots gets 2. Great double for him, switches to the shotgun. It's as easy as that. Surely not. That's 4. He's on for an ace, potentially, Des. The question is, are the rest of Lost One going to back off and give him the chance?
He makes it look so easy, finally gets shut down, but Dash is there to collect. What a 4K. It's almost cinematic in style.
Cyclops gave him, I'm not going to say Cyclops gave him that. You know, there were a couple of good kills in there, but dropping the hatch when you know he's playing onto the door, for example, like, you know which operator it is. You know he's probably got a shotgun. You're asking for trouble at that point. And then even after the Iana was killed, there was no reaction from the player outside of the door. You know somebody's just been absolutely smashed with a shotgun inside a split. And there was no attempt to sort of lengthen that engagement. If you know you're likely to come up against a shotgun, what you want to do is back off immediately. You want to create as much distance as you can because that takes away the power of that shotgun. But no reaction from Cyclops, and Dots absolutely punished them for it.
They were just so focused on the player. That
exactly.
Furnace, right? They were like, okay, there's a player there. We know they're low. We can go and kill them. Forgetting about, oh, there might be 2 or 3 of the players on site that are going to be doing some damage as well. All too easy for Lost One and Cyclops. You got a real big mountain to start climbing down now as well. 5-2 here. If it goes up to 6-2, I do not see a way for them to get back into this, given Lost One on the defense. If they can win it, all right, they're still in with a little bit of a chance. By the looks of it, we're finally going to see that glass being stuck by Aniton. Let's see what magic they can work with that.
Yeah, I mean, just Lost One looking super confident now. That's five rounds in a row on their own map. You look at this now and you think they've got the 2 top floor sites to go. They've got Bunk and Daycare, and they've got Initiation Office. There really is a timeline here where they just come out and win it. Oh, look at that. Black Ray taking some damage there. Gets away with it as Lobbin's going to drop himself back in, but he's going absolutely nowhere. He's going out for more. Misses his man, just catches the back end of Black Ray. Can't quite. He will not give up. And finally, Black Ray says, enough's enough now. You've had 2 bites at me, and I'm not going to allow any more.
Well, putting Lobbin's words back at him, the Gringos aren't as effed as he seemed to believe they would be coming into SI. Black Ray getting away with it twice, and the 3rd time he's saying, you ain't going to be so lucky, and puts him on his backside. Humbled somewhat by the Japanese player. 5v4 now for Cyclops. Not the worst start to a round.
No, not the worst start, but Black Ray has taken... The thing is, you've got to look at beyond this round as well. Black Ray's taken some damage there, and it's going to rattle Cyclops a little bit. You know, they're going to know that we're facing that aggression potentially, and it might just slow them down. It might just take that 10 seconds, 15 seconds off them at the beginning of the rounds as they just pay that little bit more attention. So certainly something to think about now. You asked for Glaz in the last round, you're going to get Glaz in this one, and it's as easy as that. Finds Rise trying to go for a reinforcement there and going to punish him. And look at this aggression. Cyclops have got themselves into break room, and they're just running over Lost One at the minute.
They are, yeah, being punished for most of that early aggression. Knowing they're down a number, they're really starting to work their way through. Dots finds 1, but Suzushi there ready for the trade. Leads it all up to Dash, who can do nothing except trade himself out at the end. And Cyclops do get something on the board here. It's been a solid 5 rounds since they've won one, Tim. Is it going to be enough to propel them forwards? We'll find out.
They've got to build on it. They've got to build on it now. I think the problem is there, you know, Cyclops have turned up the aggression. They've obviously decided that maybe they've sat back a little bit too much. As soon as the opportunity was there, I like it. They got the kill onto Rise, and the call was there. Right, in we go. Get into break. And Lost One just did not react very well to it. I don't think they recognised it quickly enough that that was what was going to happen, and just got caught out. So this time we're going to see them go back to the same site. I don't think we'll see the same sort of early round aggression from Lobbin. He might have a little luck, but he's not going to be going 3 times after the same player, one window to the next, I don't think. So he, Lost One just need to try and slow Cyclops down a little bit. You know, they can't have them getting that aggressive. It's going to be a similar lineup for Cyclops. We've got the Glaz, got Amaru, so Ihana, Ash. It doesn't show signs of slowing to me, Des.
No, and I found their bands really interesting when they came through, because Aniton is a massive DKB player as well. Probably one of his most famous operators over the last 18 months since Monty was always being banned away. Here he's playing on the Glaz, so they've quite smartly opted to say, okay, well look, we're not playing the DKB, you're going to be on something else instead. Aniton's good with these rifle-based weapons that are like 1-2 hit kills rather than a whole spray down. Semi-automatic is always his go-to. The Warden being taken away as well means that the smokes and the flashes coming out from, you know, the smokes coming out from the Glaz, the flashes coming out from Suzushi on the Ying. They really need to be abusing that, otherwise that ban becomes completely pointless. So I'm glad to see here they're leaning more into that utility to really enable the Glaz, but you've got to see Aniton getting into some key spots to make this work.
Yep, Lobbin just playing a slightly more cautious approach this time. Going to be trying to play under that default cam, but as I say that, he goes running out of the door practically of Cash. He knows that there's somebody up on that rooftop. If he had a nitro potentially, he could do something about it from the window by just sending it up through the hole, but it's not going to be an opportunity for him. For the time being, really, yep, stick yourself in 90, Lobbin, and just prevent them from coming in and taking control of that side of the map.
He's just making sure as many drones are being picked off as he can as well. Burn them in cache so they aren't hitting the site and feeding that information over later on to Cyclops when it comes round to the execute. But he has backed away in good time there. I'm imagining out towards control, out towards waiting room, just to keep himself a little bit safer here as Anderton's starting to work his way through with a little bit of control now coming in, making noise for his team here in case you're wondering what the hell's actually going on. Just making sure they can get the maneuvering coming in. A lot of utility being committed inside of the break room here though. We've had smokes coming out, we've had candelas, 2 or 3 players lurking around the windows. I imagine Lost One are like, what the hell's actually going on here? Because nothing has really happened off the back of it.
The problem is a lot of utility has gone in without any players following it. That's the first time. Anaton's gone in there now on the glass, so they've got themselves established in there. 2 kills come in for Cyclops and 1 in return for Lost One. Leaves us in a 4 versus 3. Anaton taking a lot of damage inside a break room, and this could be a problem for Cyclops. If Lost One are able to sort of shut them down, find those couple of kills and not allow the impact to come from break room, it's going to be a big problem. Rise manages to find Ayagir to Black Ray onto Maya, and so Cyclops just managed to keep themselves that man advantage. 3 versus 2. 50 seconds left to go, but Lost One, you just feel like I've got a good idea of what's going on.
Getting a little bit aggressive there onto the window, wanting to stop them even getting inside the building, but I was going to say, it's really smart from Lost One. They've adapted, they've stepped away from trying to challenge the break room, but now put themselves down to a man disadvantage, and Cyclops have pulled another one back, up to 5 and 4, even with what I thought looked like a pretty smart adaptation coming out of Lost One.
I think we knew this wasn't necessarily going to be a runaway. Cyclops have always got something to say about a game that's not going in their favour, and they're certainly having their say over the last couple of rounds. Heading into round 10, we've seen Cyclops take the last 2 and bring themselves back within 1. They're in touching distance of Lost One, who are going to move on. Interestingly, they're not going to go to Initiation and Office. They're going to actually head downstairs, not back to Armory and Throne. It's going to be Lab and Storage for Lost One, which is not an often picked site. I think we have seen it so far at SR23, maybe once. But yeah, it's not too common.
No, it isn't really. I think a couple of teams, interestingly on day 1 actually yesterday, we'd seen every map and every site played according to the stats that Fresh have been collecting. Literally everything had been played. And I know we've seen Lab and Storage a couple of times across the maps that we'd either cast or watch on Theme Park. I'm just always concerned about this one in terms of the site itself becomes a little bit claustrophobic for the attackers especially. Trying to filter in through that single window, having to take control of most of Arcade, which means getting control of top floor, making sure Cafe's secure. There's just a lot you have to think about to even worry about pushing in towards this site, but it's also quite weird to defend at the same time. Here, what I'm concerned about for Lost One is they're stretching themselves really thin. They've got players playing up on the vertical, there's some downstairs as well inside of Armory and Throne with the reinforcements that have just gone up. So there's a lot to hold on to, and I'm just not convinced they'll be able to keep Cyclops at bay. Better yet, even keep Cyclops at bay from just charging straight in towards the site as well.
We've just got only one of Lost One on site at the minute.
That's what I mean, yeah.
This, as you say, there's an opportunity for Cyclops there. Could be dangerous. I was expecting maybe as you were finishing speaking that a few were going to head back in there, but no, it's just going to be Rise all alone for the time being, and they just need to be aware of that. The arcade stairs is a good position, to be fair. We've got Dash there on the Goyo, so that's going to be at least able to quickly support. He's sort of in that link position of keeping a safe space for the roamers to be able to head back through to site. But yeah, a lot of commitment to the top floor at the minute for Lost One.
Which I don't overly hate. Like, they're controlling the entirety of the map. They've even got Dragon Hell down. Again, remembering that the site is Lab and Storage. It's the exact opposite end of the map. Now, Arcol is looking to do a little bit of a challenge on this side of the map, but there's 2 he's playing against and gets the shot up through the floor onto Lobbin, who was looking to get cheeky. I know he was quite confident coming into SI, but I've said it a couple of times. So far, humbled by the Japanese side.
Ayagir finding Maya as well. 5 versus 3 now, and Cyclops really getting some wind in their sails. I'm going to have to start thinking about getting back to site here or Lost One, because they are still light-handed down there, so it's not ideal. There's still 2 on the top floor, only Rise downstairs, so could certainly be a problem, especially as Dots falls as well. It's all up to Dash. He was on the arcade stairs, so he can get back in there, but even Rise has dipped away now. It looks like Cyclops are able to start moving in. Rise is thinking about going out of the window here, but it's going to be too late. The diffuser's going down. He knows there's somebody coming towards barrels, manages to find him him, but Arcully onto Dash, leaves Rise with it altered. A beautiful headshot with the SMG-11, but now he sees his own side utility working against him as he tries to move around, tries to position to find these kills that he needs before he can disable this activated diffuser. He knows there's somebody around there, but no, Black Ray wins on the peak around the corner, just slides out super smooth, finds his man, and that's going to be Cyclops leveling it up, and we are seeing at least all 12.
What I think Lost One are really struggling with here is they're still playing incredibly individualistic. They're looking for these 1v1s, they're looking to peek onto windows, they're really wanting to aggress into Cyclops in the same way that Cyclops like to aggress into other teams. And before we came on air, you and I were talking, and we both said this will either be an amazing game or a really poor game. So far, it's really entertaining, which is what I'm enjoying, but it's coming down to these individual gunfights time and time again. And Lost One, for the last 3 rounds, has stepped into them, and more often than not, they have lost out to Cyclops. Even when they're down a couple of numbers, they're still looking to go at windows. They're trying to find 1v1s. I'd honestly rather they just calm down a little bit. Play as a team here. You're speaking about your teamwork, Lobin, saying you and Maya have got this. At the minute, we're not really seeing that team play coming together. There's no trade-based play. There's no crossfires being held, and you're the ones on defense. So let's breathe a little bit. Let's slow it down. Let's not try and be hyper-aggressive and control every square inch of theme park. Let's play as a team and use that team play to overcome Cyclops, because they've won 3 rounds on the bounce now. We're up to 5-5. This is your last chance. You've got to win 2 rounds, otherwise overtime is waiting, or even worse, just a straight regulation win for Cyclops.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it was something that I picked up on round 7, the first Armory Throne defense. I said, you know, theme park is a big map. They're stretching themselves too thin. And if anything, they've gone even worse.
You know, they've got mute Mozzie, they're trying to block information away.
Exactly, take the information away, focus on site, you know, don't worry about your rotation to barrels and overextending, just, you know, do the basics.
Just a little bit of a concern around the Alibi and the Thorn here. They do want some presence off-site. You can't just turtle yourself.
No, not at all.
And wait for the world to end, the ceiling to start falling down, for example. But I'm just thinking here, is that really the go-to? They had things like the Melusi before. We had the Goyo on side. Those things are missing. Sure, there are C4s to play behind, but there's not much in the way of denial. One big thing noting, though, 3 shields on side. That could be quite a nuisance coming in for Cyclops there. Have got to deal with a very dynamic defense inside of the site itself.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to see maybe a couple of players up on the top floor, you know, have the roam, have the time wasting, you know, have a method of getting back to site as safely as possible. They're going to have to play up there, they've opened the hatch, so they need to be careful of that. You know, have your method of getting back, like you say, they've got the hatch open so they can use it, they just need to hold on for as long as they can. Don't throw away those lives, and then have the players downstairs on site as well, whereas again, there's only one down there on site, and they are spread very thin across the map, and Cyclops will continue recognising that, and they will continue pushing in and getting those 1v1s.
Absolutely. So looking really on the side of Cyclops, it depends entirely on how they play this out as well. They've felt very comfortable going into these constant 1v1s against members of Lost One because they have come out on top for the vast majority of these rounds. You can see 2 or 3 lurking on the upstairs here for Lost One. In fact, the vast majority of them, I think there's 3 of them up here at the minute. Yep, 1 initiation, 1 inside a daycare, and then 1 also hanging around towards Cafe. So they do want this aggressive control. They've all got a pretty similar proximity as well towards the hatches. They do need to get back to site. So they are doing the right thing about wasting a bit of time here, but I like even more that it's quite a close-knit triangle. They are playing as a group. It's not about 1v1s, it's about trades, and I'm hoping that's what we see come through once the shooting starts. As I say, there's nothing else because there's a nade. Forget about the shooting, that doesn't count.
They can go the Candelas, but the Ying actually isn't going to follow those in. So Thorn, Dash up there is going to be reasonably safe to continue in that position. Arcully is looking to work from underneath now instead. Out goes the nade. Obviously not confident of the position of Dash at the minute, so could still continue to be a thorn in the side of Cyclops if they don't get him closed down. Just holding on to that split door for the time being. Cyclops largely sort of just moving away and forgetting about this top floor clearance, instead choosing to go direct, which might not be the end of the world. As I say, with Lost One have been, you know, spreading themselves a little bit thin. There is potentially the opportunity there.
There is. It's kind of that weird little pause. They found the opening and everything has slowed down a little bit while they still get themselves set up. You can see 3 of them stacked up on the east side out here. Suzushi with diffuser in hand as well. No doubt going to be the big target. It's interesting to see him not playing on something like I don't know, a Habana that normally he would be playing on. Instead, he's on the Twitch here playing a more supportive role. So the kind of thing that every now and then we see out of teams like Koi. I can think of Deepak a few times that's been across on this operator as well. One even back out though. Anaton's gone. That's Candela's and Smokes offline, but Black Ray ensures Cyclops retain that numbers advantage with a kill onto Dash, who really since the first half hasn't been all that present, it feels. Great C4 from Lobin. Again, once again, lobbing it straight over the top. Maya strikes big, strikes even bigger, a huge 3K. They move themselves up to match point, but is it enough, Tim?
I don't really understand that from Cyclops.
No, me neither.
So far they've been so good at going in, identifying the positions of the Lost One players, you know, isolating them and killing them. They went upstairs, they went downstairs, and at 40 seconds left thought, oh, we're going to have to go back upstairs, and started losing players in doing so. It was very strange.
That seems to be a real weak point for them, is on that north side when it comes to the push-in. They had a player sat behind the shield at the top side of Furnace, normally where it had been chewed up by, say, a Flores. They didn't have a Flores on side, they were out of utility, had to really go for this push-in. So Maya was just dancing around behind that shield, taking out all three of them as they tried to push inside a split. So understandably, Cyclops are now saying, well, this is our only chance to take our tactical time out here and figure out a plan as we go into the last round of regulation. Otherwise, it's a 7-5 to Lost One on Cyclops' map, on map choice. On Lost One's map choice, sorry.
Yeah, Cyclops certainly try. They're going to have to put the brakes on. It's now or never. If they don't get this done, then they will be one map down heading into Cafe. And to be honest, I think that, you know, they can kick themselves at that. They can feel a bit hard done to because they've had some good momentum over the last 3 rounds. They've had 3 in a row, and it's just been, you know, really. I don't know. It was just a surprise that last round. I think, you know, they've been so different up to round 11, and then they would just seem riddled with indecision, and it cost them ultimately. You know, particularly that late change to thinking, no, we do need to get rid of Dash. We've got to go up there and clear him out. It was like the decision had already been made that no, we're going to leave him up there. It's fine, just sort of leave him out in the cold. But they didn't have any hard breach. That was my concern. You know, you've got Dash on an open hatch. You've got no hard breach. How can you just leave him there? Because you're going to have to go in through the door. Like, it's, you know, it's such a big problem. But we'll see what they do in round 12. It's going to be upstairs, Bunk and Daycare. We've seen this defended twice already by Lost One, and we've seen it won twice by Cyclops, round 8 and round 9. Both times Cyclops were able to get those opening kills, both onto Lobin, so needs to keep himself alive a little bit longer here and keep himself in the fight for Lost One.
Yeah, this site's been horrible. Out of the 5 times you've seen it this map, it's only been won once by the defenders, so it feels a little bit exposed, a little bit risky. Neither team really stepping in towards initiation office. I think we saw it once as well, and that's about it. So almost like either team is scrambling to say, okay, we're happy playing inside of Armory and throwing, but every other site, roll a dice and we'll try and make it work, is the sort of feeling that I've got going in so far. Now, we have seen some of those more crazy picks parked away for Cyclops. Didn't indeed see the Sens coming out, for example, and the craziness that we thought would follow along with that. Things have balanced out at least a little bit more. You've got that Flores returning in once again to deal with any shields that might be there. There is one coming in that will have dropped down somewhere already. Alongside that, the Ying that has been such a staple for both teams in this game.
Lobin just playing a little bit deeper than we've seen previously. I said he needs to keep himself alive more. First of all, it was the attempts onto Black Ray, you know, running out of every door, peeking every window until Black Ray ultimately killed him. Then it was playing 90 corridor just under the default cam, and this time he's played even deeper back in office. Now, obviously the problem there is it does give ground up to Cyclops, and they're able to move in and take it, but I think that keeping him alive and having that potential maybe for a little flank up Dragon Stairs, or you know, a little bit of an extra gun, particularly the 416, a good weapon on Jaeger there. I just think he's going to be more valuable than the way he's lost his life originally in the other 2 games that the other 2 rounds that we've seen on this site.
All forced down towards the west here for Lost One as well. You see that shape forming out towards the left, whereas for Cyclops, their attack is all starting out towards the east. One of them working their way slowly in towards initiation here, whilst 2 more get to work on the office side of things. So they are stepping forward as we get towards that last 60 seconds of thinking about what an execute may begin to look like. But I wonder if there's a big focus on trying to get this wall opened up, or if the fact that it's jammed away and fully reinforced off means they're going to be forced to have different ideas instead.
Hard breaching, I keep mentioning it, I keep coming back to it. Beautiful nade there, lobbing once again the opening death on this site. It just isn't his site. Arcully manages to find a tight angle, threads the needle onto Maya and puts them at a serious advantage now. 5 versus 3, 40 seconds left to go. There is a long time for Lost One to hold on, really. They need to be finding themselves some kills. I think they're going to find themselves pressured from break room pretty soon as well. Cyclops have shown they are no strangers to repelling inside of there and just applying pressure from every which way.
We'll be so worried about what's going on behind them here as well. You've got the longer angle shots, and Arcolio's about to praise as being so good on the entry. 4-on-1 so far is shut down. More Candelas rain on through as the shotgun comes out from Rise to bring us down to a temporary 3 versus 3 as Arcoli is down on the deck. What can Cyclops make work? The answer is a kill onto Rise into a 3 versus 2 with the plank going down.
Black Ray's going to stick this almost certainly. Anaton's on the cover, finds one beautiful headshot through the smoke, but will be taken down. Doesn't matter as Suzushi is there to close it out, and Des, we're going to overtime.
I've waited to hear you say that all day long, Tim. There are some stats worth looking at here, to be fair. I mentioned Arcoli a second ago. 5-0 on the entry now. Absolutely decimating Lobin, who sat down at 1-5. So really getting a rude awakening and welcome coming in to SI 2023. And then across the whole team at the minute, things aren't looking so good for them on the entry. But Cyclops are largely being carried by Arcoli and the performance that he's having. It's really interesting how we're seeing this more and more. You know, we're talking about players like Liquefact, for example. Spoits had a brilliant year last year. Benjamaster on G2 has transformed the way they play. Arcoli has come in new for this side, and he's working absolute wonders, currently being sat at 14 and 11. Just the age of youth seems to be upon us, Tim, which means you and I are screwed.
Oh dear, oh dear. The other interesting stat for Arcoli, it's not just about his KD on the board, which, you know, is impressive. He's going very well at the minute. It's also his entry does. He's 5-0 on the entry. He's doing so well for Cyclops in the early rounds, and by contrast, you've got Lobin on the other side who is 1-5 on entry. You know, and that is going to play a big part. You've got to look at those numbers and think, you know, a few of those kills go the other way, and a lot of Arculis have been directly onto Lobin. If a few of those kills go the other way and Lobin's winning those fights, we're probably not in overtime.
No, I completely agree, and I think for Lost One, where I'm a little bit, not disappointed or sad for them, but where it kind of certifies where I was, you know, I was trying to really gauge, you know, has this team that really believes it, like Lobin said in the interview, that they can make a deep run in towards playoffs here as well. Are we going to see that performance from them today, a real strong show that says, actually, yeah, we are serious about getting that far? Or are we going to see them challenge? When they were up 5-2, I was like, great. Now we are seeing the Lost One side that everyone was excited to see. We saw Maya and Lobin starting to wake up and really get involved. That's kind of fell off now, as we've seen they've won one round across the last 5 that have come through, with Cyclops now bringing things dead even at 6-6 into overtime. Just kind of goes to show they're going to have to battle their way through what is now turning out to be a really spicy and unpredictable group. Many thought BDS would be clear. It's not looking so clear at the moment, is it?
Lost One have decided to go back and defend Armory and Throne. No surprise, we saw them defend it twice, we saw them win it twice. So Cyclops are going to have to do something that they haven't been able to achieve so far, which is get a win on to this site if they want to give themselves the advantage in overtime. Lost One, again, spread out all over the map. We've got one at top arcade, one top yellow, one in break room. They're sort of all over the place, mostly on the top floor at the minute, and that's what Cyclops are going to have to play into. Dash is not over-peaking this. He doesn't want to over-challenge it, but with Black Ray coming into Cafe, it could get a little bit dangerous for him on those arcade stairs, and rightly so. He dips himself away, he sees the man, but just can't react quick enough. Iragates are going to take a little bit of damage there. They know exactly where Dash is positioned now. What a beautiful shot around the barrels.
Oh, Arcoli is lurking though. Does he know about this? Now he definitely knows as well, so he's got himself in a risk of danger because he knows full well that Dash is going to be trying to fire back as soon as he gets an opportunity. The problem being that Dash is very much like penned in here. He can't really get any support as Cyclops are all over this room like ants over trash. They're looking to see what they can pick up, but Lobin finds Arcoli. That's another big kill, the kind of player that you do want to be removing from this Cyclops lineup, and suddenly fortunes are turning in the favor of Lost One.
Lobin getting mobile, but it's not going to matter. He's been pinged out. Black Ray knows exactly where he is. He's chasing him down. Can he get there quickly enough? Sounded like a prox alarm maybe going off there just as he went through. Just going to be giving his position away, so Lobin's going to know that the push is coming, and Looks like he might have just saved himself enough time here. He is still stuck in a lab for the time being and moves around beautiful. I think Black Ray just assumed that maybe he'd pushed away and gone back towards side. Not the case. A third for Lobbin. Surely no. Finishes the round with a pistol kill. He's out of his chair and lost one. They're feeling confident in overtime.
You know what? I can really see a character building in Lobbin already. From the interview, from some of the reactions we've seen after these rounds, I would love to see him in an interview after a game they've won. It'll be such a barrel of laughs. But again, a brilliant round coming out for Lost One. Lots of work being done in barrels as well, just burning through the clock, getting the kill, drawing more attention on towards himself. That puts Lost One ahead at 7-6, and Cyclops have got to work some magic here in an armory and throwing defense. The only site that it feels has had any semblance of normality on what has been a crazy theme park ride.
Really has. At this point, we go then downstairs to Armory and Throne. Cyclops, if we look by contrast, you know, they defended this a couple of times and didn't have any joy with it. Lost One were able to win round 3, round 5, both attempts at the defense here. So, you know, there are sites, they won both of the top floor sites. Those were the 2 defenses that they picked up. So it's certainly a roll of the dice for Cyclops here. I'm sure that they'll view it that, you know, this isn't their map. It's not necessarily where they expect the win to come from. But still, I'm not sure that they're giving themselves the best opportunity to get this one done.
Just make you think about what's coming for Cafe as well. We know that Cyclops have loved some crazy plays on that map. Jump outs galore, getting a little bit chaotic, hyper-aggressive on a map that normally orders you to play according to a checklist error. Say it has to work in certain ways, but Cyclops, as we always know, like to break the order of things and try something a little bit different. Before we get there, though, we'll see how this round plays out. As expected, you are going to see a couple roaming up on the top floor, a couple playing down on site itself, one out towards Dragon. So a good spread from Cyclops so far. Just don't want to see them making the same mistakes that Lost One made of getting themselves pulled into too many 1v1s that doesn't give them any real advantage.
Cyclops well established up on the top floor, just much the same as Lost One have been defending this site. Lost One starting from the roof, they'll open the hatches, they'll send the drones in. We've seen this from them a few times now, but hopefully for Lost One they can keep that speed up, they can keep that early round momentum that they managed to find towards the back end, and that is exactly what I was talking about. Lobbin, what a time to turn around your entry stats, gets himself a starter, but Black Ray able to find Dash, leaving us 4 versus 4 after these initial head-to-head meetings.
Do you think Lobbin's been listening to us talk about this whole entry thing, where he's been down, destroyed by our Cully? Somehow he's heard and gone, hey, you guys are right, you know, I need to get the entry stats back up, because the last 2 rounds, he has got the one over on top of our Cully and pushed his team slightly into the lead. Sure, we've seen the Maverick go down. It doesn't feel like a world ender, though obviously you've got to be concerned about how you're now going to find walls being opened up. They're going to have to force their way in instead, Tim, play with some vertical control potentially above yellow, but the rest of it is going to be no wall being opened up, just a direct push through to make some work happen on going in through those bottlenecks.
All 4 back in sight then, Lost One. They've got the run of the map, they can start opening up the verticals, they can start thinking about exactly how they're going to go in. They've lost the hard breach, so there is no options other than doors. Maya is going to be down, but collected back onto 20 HP. But yeah, as you pick up, the funneling is going to be a real problem. Black Ray is just going to get himself locked in behind that furnace, and I think that's probably where he'll play the rest of the round from, because I would expect at this point Cyclops are going to have a good idea that they are not going to be dealing with any breaches, and that they've just got those 2 single doors to keep an eye on.
For all I said about Maverick not being the end of the world, actually it kind of is, and probably to me says we are going to round 15, because Cyclops, to give it to them as well, are showing the right composure, all dialed back onto site and just said, hey, they can't open walls anymore, we killed Maverick, let's just go and sit on site and let them have to come to us. So that has completely changed how this round is going to play out here. Sure, there's a smoke coming in, but they're going to have to keep a barricade going down as well. They've got Yokais ready and waiting, and Irrigator, despite being flash, manages to find out dots.
Smart play from Irrigator there, just creating the opportunity, but timed well with the smoke, because it just prevented them pushing forward and getting in. Manages to get a second Suzuki in the action as well. A triple in the end for Irrigator, and that's going to be Cyclops taking us all the way to 15.
I love the excitement in that team. It's embarrassing, guys.
They just look like they're having fun.
Both teams do. You know, Lost One have been quite vocal when they've won around. The Japanese guys have been smiling and having a laugh as well. It's all good stuff to see. But it does bring us all the way up to round 15, Tim. Oh, you didn't say the line.
I did.
Did you?
Of course I did.
And clearly wasn't like emphatic enough, as I'm not excited.
Very emphatic. You just don't.
Can you do it again?
You just don't listen to me. We're going all the way to 15, Des.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear. Actually listening this time as well and paying attention to what you're saying.
Oh, at least you can enjoy it.
Absolutely. Cool. So it looks like we might start out with some crazy picks coming in. I don't know if they'll get locked. We'll wait until we get to the end of this pick phase to see if those do stay in place. But lab and storage is that site again that gets picked up here, Tim, the one that's a little bit quirky. I was wondering about this in the last round. I was like, okay, they've gone through the primary site, the one that feels a little more comfortable, and now stepping across in towards lab and storage. I wouldn't say it really played out last time like an air quotes normal defense of this site. If you remember, they were playing spread across the entirety of the map. There were a lot of 1v1s being taken, and my main criticism of Lost One back then was stop taking these 1v1s all around the map going into attacker guns, because they'll just peel you apart and slice you up like an onion. So hopefully here, Lost One a bit more composed, play off those trades. That could be the key to winning this. Otherwise, Cyclops, they walk away with a win on the pick that is not their map.
It's interesting, a lot of rounds have actually gone in favour of, you know, somebody just going big on a team. We've had 7 rounds out of 14, so in half of these rounds, there's been a 3K or more for one of the players. And generally, the team that are winning the round. So it's just showing that it's really coming down to those big individual efforts, those hero players, you know, just coming in, as Ayagator did in that last round and just picking up kill after kill after kill. You know, it's interesting to keep an eye on and see if anybody is able to do that here in the last round, but we do tend to see teams in the 15th round just play that little bit more tentatively, because as much as everybody wants to win it, nobody wants to lose it.
Absolutely not. Reminding you all again that if you win 2-0 in a series, you get 4 points. Win 2-1, you get 3. You lose 2-1, you get 1 point. You lose 0 at 2. You get absolutely zilch, nothing on the record. So either side really here knowing that at least this map guarantees them something. Lost One looking to start off a big bang. Cyclops to continue it after their victory against BDS yesterday. This does mean more than maybe you think you might know. Lobin finds one, instantly traded back out, though again, maybe not the strongest start that he was looking for, but has warmed into it as it's gone along, as Dash is there ready for a trade. Rise into a second, there's only 2 left. Black Rain, Anderton, 2 of the OGs, have got it all to do against 4 members, and they already bring down 1.
3 versus 2 now. Lost One looking good at this point in time. Lots of work for Cyclops to do. Black Ray is going to start pushing across that top floor, but you know, ultimately that's not where the site is. The more time that is taken up with Cyclops looking around on the top floor for those defenders, and the fact that they've got a man advantage gives them the opportunity to leave at least 1 player up there to play on the flank. I think that's what's happening actually. Yes, there's somebody over in initiation for Lost One, so that's something Cyclops have got to be super aware of. Lost One have got the freedom now to play a couple back towards site and then to collapse on in them. There you go. Dots manages to find one inside. He gets Black Rain. It's all up to Anderton. 1 versus 3. He's got time on his side, but it's certainly not going to be easy.
I mean, if you want any player in this kind of situation, it's going to be Anderton, but pushing into this single window, I spoke about the bottlenecks, the awkwardness of trying to attack this site, and you're going to see it really start singing through. We've got a C4 in the back pocket of Rise as well. He looks ready and equipped for this. No Candelas, no smokes are going to transform what looks to be the likely outcome, which should be a win going the way of Lost One.
Anderton really needed to get that kill. That was his opportunity. He's going to be going in through the window. He's still 1 versus 3. There was a real chance with Diffuser in hand that he could get onto site, you know, and kill people as they came back. But no, he's going to have to play with that sound cue. Just try and bait them into an attack. But it doesn't work in his favour. Dots picks up the final kill, and that is going to be an absolute war, a battle on Theme Park, ultimately going to Lost One.
Was a real battle, Tim, exactly that. We said coming in that there's a fair chance coming up against Cyclops. You are going to have your mettle tested. They're a team that no one wants to play when it comes to being at big events like this, because they can